Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Robert from El Magnifico Games, and today we are going to continue our playthrough of Riven. Now, for those that were here and remember, last session we ended with my having discovered this little device here. It was in the, I assume, on position, the position where noise seemed to be being made, and I was trying to figure out what it did, and I saw this little cord going this way, and I tried to follow it, and I saw that it went over here and then into here, and I figured, oh well, if I go the long way round and get to the other side of this building, which takes a while, you do have to take a very long route. There's no way to get to the other side of this building from this island at present. We have to trek through a series of other islands to do it. If I get to the other side, maybe I'll find out what it does, and that proved unsuccessful. It seems that whatever it's doing inside. Then about 15 minutes after I'd finished the stream, something like that, it suddenly occurred to me. Given that there's this cord which goes this way, I bet this turns off the fan that was in the mouse room. So the thing that I had been trying to do, that is stop the fan so I could go up the tube, what I must have spent the best part of an hour of trying to figure out how to do that last stream, seems I could have continued with that. Immediately upon discovering that little switch, I hypothesize. Yep, that is in fact the case. But I only realised after I'd ended the stream. Anywho, let's get on. Interesting. I wonder if this is inside that building. Ooh, writing. I'll have to examine that more fully. What am I trying to do? I'm trying to have a look around inside. Okay, this is making more sense now. Because I remember I discovered my way to... I was at a shrine on the second island you reach in this game, and I discovered that by pulling a particular device, you could... Pulling on a particular device, you could open up a doorway in a tree, which ultimately allowed you to... Sorry, what am I saying? A doorway in the shrine, which allowed you to take an elevator up and down, and ultimately allowed you get to the other side of this island, the side we haven't otherwise had access to yet. I bet this is the point in the game where I was supposed to discover that. I was probably supposed to enter the shrine from the other side. But I did things a little out of order. Covering the content backwards, as it were. Yep, sure looks that way. Never mind. Oh, that is a really nice shortcut. That's going to speed things up a lot. Yep. We can indeed come and go through this building freely now. Huh. Wonder what that's supposed to do. Well, since we can come and go freely now, let's try turning the power back on and seeing if that makes any difference. I don't know exactly how much of the building's power that switch toggles. Okay, it doesn't seem to have had any impact there. So what have we got here? We've got 2 tables. Oh, and a book inside there. Ooh. I'm actually gonna not touch that yet, because I don't know what happened to the prison book, nor do I remember what it looked like. So I have no way of knowing that that isn't the prison book that got stolen from us at the beginning of the game. So let's have a quick read, shall we? The latest ink formulation has proven a failure. Even when writing in my most promising books, I obtain only the barest glimpse of a connection. Oh, the barest glimmer of a connection. It is frustrating to expend so much effort creating a blank book only to end up destroying it when it doesn't work. There are days when the lab is uncomfortably warm from the flames of these failed attempts. The further I refine each element, the formulation of the inks and papers, the physical dimension of the books, the more I realize that the list of potential combinations is nearly infinite. It is during moments like these that I despair. Without access to Denis, my long-term goals may never be accomplished. Nevertheless, there are avenues of research which remain to be explored. So, 82.2.13. I'm actually tempted to read back through the book we got at the very beginning and compare it. So the entries in this book seem to have begun 5 years later, assuming these are year, month, day entries. So let's reread this book, then go back to the book we've just found. They held for more than 30 years, but the corrections I made to Riven have finally failed. The island has resumed the familiar pattern of decay that is the hallmark of my father's work. I must now race to implement this new patch before it's too late. I only hope that my revised theories are sound. Revisions to Riven completed. There are still a number of minor adjustments which need to be made, but the basic corrections have been entered and should be working. Something's not right. I've been monitoring the instruments for several hours now, but have thus far observed no change. It's possible that I've made an error, though I've checked my entry against my prenotation and can find no discrepancy. I've not had a rest in nearly 3 days, so it may be that I'm just not seeing it if the fault is with my... It may be that I'm just not seeing it if the fault is with my foundational assumptions, however. Perhaps after a short rest I will see something. Success. It appears that my repairs have been effective after all. The gateway image has become noticeably clearer, and although it's impossible to know this with absolute certainty, the island seems to have quieted itself. Just a few more weeks of work and I should be free, at last, to go there myself and attempt to bring Catherine back. The past 8 months have left me little time to think, to devise a strategy for getting her out of there. I've received no sign from her in all that time. I'm afraid, no. I must assume she is all right, lest my fears undermine my efforts to bring her back. I did not create the Age of Riven. Unlike my father, I have never presumed to have such power, and yet the future of all those who lived there has fallen into my hands. I've never presumed to have such power, so does that mean Atras never created any ages? Because I'm sure that's not true. So if it's a specific reference to creating Riven, as opposed to any other age, I wonder why he thinks that's presumptuous of power. What is it that makes Riven special? Anyway. And yet the future of all those who live there has fallen into my hands. So far I've managed to read the page before it turns. The island continues to appear stable, and I would like to believe that I have saved a dying world, but the fears of one individual cannot support the lives of real people indefinitely. I must get everyone off Riven as soon as possible. The problem now is Gen. I believe that's Atras's father. I'll never be able to rescue Catherine and relocate the island if he is still the man he once was. I haven't seen him in over 30 years, but his history forces me to assume that he is still a threat. His myopic mission to restore the Denis civilization has left too many innocent cultures dying in its wake, and will continue to do so were he to once again be free of the confines of Riven, or the Fifth Age as he coldly titled it. Okay. So that's why he posed a threat. I knew that there had been some reference to Gen being dangerous, but I had completely forgotten the reasons why. These are the reasons why. The universe has been safe from his corruptive influence for the last 33 years because no one has been able to leave that age. The last linking book out of Risen has been lost in the Starfisher upon my return to Mist. So that was 33 years ago. So what was the date on this? So if this was in 87, again, assuming this is the year, then Gen was trapped there in around 54. Because we don't know he says 33 years, but we don't know if that's 33 years and 9 months, or perhaps it's 32 years and 9 months, and he's rounding up or what have you. But it was around 54 then that Gen was trapped there. That's probably worth even making a note of. Right, where was I? The last linking book out of Riven, having been lost in the Starfisher upon my return to Mist. See, I discussed this before, that this doesn't really make sense. Because I don't see how he could have used a linking book at the exact same time as transporting that self-same linking book. If he took a book out of Riven to Mist, then surely the book would have been left behind. How could he physically have carried the book with him, which he was currently travelling through? So that's unclear. That was my intention, to maroon my father on Riven by removing all the existing links to other worlds, and since the art of constructing books had long been lost with the fall of the Denis, he would be trapped there for the remainder of his lifetime and effectively segregated from the countless other worlds that he would have invaded. In effect, that is what we achieved, but the way it fell, however, was no one's ideal. Though the sting of the incident has gradually faded from my memory, the deep pain of the responsibility for what actually came to be has never left me. At the time it all seemed so clear. Gen's destructive path could not be allowed to continue, but it was never my choice that the innocent inhabitants of Riven, who had already suffered so much, would be the ones to pay for it. Enough. To dwell in the past is to die in the present. The situation is not the same as it was then. The knowledge I've acquired in the years since that time has yet to be applied to this problem. I think I have the solution. Why did it not occur to me sooner? I do not know, unless the idea of it had been pushed out with the thought of my sons. A prison book! Many years ago, during a hunting expedition through the ruins of Denis, I chanced upon a formula for a most unusual type of book. Unfortunately, due to the fact that my father was then in the habit of confiscating my discoveries, I was forced to leave it behind. Years later, however, as part of my efforts to protect the vulnerable worlds linked to the books in my library, I was pleased to find that I could still recall most of the formula, and with little experimentation quickly succeeding in creating one of these devices myself. The procedure is actually quite simple. By altering key lines of text but slightly, a normal linking book's connection can be partially severed, so that anyone who attempts to use the book will be permanently trapped in the dark void of the link. That is, unless someone else then uses the book, at which point that person would have become trapped and the first person displaced back into the world. The technique can be applied to books that have already been written, changes to the original text being so slight that anyone who is unfamiliar with the code will be unable to detect them. If indeed my father has not changed, what better bait could there be than a book that appeared to be a link back here to Denis? Trouble. My nightly analysis of the island's condition has revealed that the tremors have begun again. The pattern, however, is new. The disturbances are the result of the changes I have made. This did not, at first, concern me, however. Tremors of this type were one of the possible side effects that I had anticipated during this initial phase of the island's readjustment. Still, in order to verify my assumptions, I decided to calculate again, incorporating the new data. The results were not what I expected. The damage to the understructure is more extensive than I'd realised. I can no longer go to Riven as planned. Catherine, forgive me. I must act while I still have time. The signs are barely visible, but there's no question that the island's deterioration is accelerating. Total collapse is imminent unless I can keep ahead, and that is becoming increasingly difficult to do. With every passing moment, I gain a clearer picture of the incredible chaos that my father's economy of words has yielded, but it is a dismaying process. The complexity of the problem is overwhelming. There is no end to this. The last few days have all but convinced me that the collapse of Riven is inevitable, and that at best I can only strive to delay it now, and hope that at some point the island will become stable enough to risk a rescue attempt. I think I've come up with a way to subdue the tremors. It will require my exclusive attention for at least a month or two, so it may be necessary to discontinue these journal entries for a while. And then 6 days later, something truly miraculous has happened. Beyond all conceivable probability, someone has finally found my lost missed linking book and has freed me from this prison. I immediately realised that this could be the solution to my dilemma, and believe my mysterious benefactor is willing to assist me. I'm still not sure it can work. The logistics of such a scheme are formidable, but the mere fact that it may be possible for me to continue my repairs to Riven and yet proceed with my original intent to find Catherine has given me renewed hope. 3 more days later. The last few days have left me little time to work out the remaining problems with sending someone else to Riven. It did occur to me, however, that if a way could be found to signal me once Gen had been captured, it would no longer be necessary to take a real linking book to Riven and risk the possibility of inadvertently releasing Gen. Then how are you going to get people out? The deteriorated state of the gateway image makes the use of a visual signal impossible, but the picture remains reliable indicators of Riven's condition nevertheless. By measuring and interpreting variations in the noise patterns, I am still able to observe basic changes that occur in the age, even though I cannot see them. The problem is that my instruments can only detect changes that occur on a fundamental level, and it seems unlikely that an individual could affect such an elementary change from within an age. The idea may be foolish. Still, there is a known weakness that may be worth investigating, an anomaly that appears as a rift between two separate systems, the Starfisher, but how or even if that could be exploited I cannot say. Sending someone to Riven also means that once I received the signal that they were ready to return, I would have to leave my writing in order to take a real linking book there myself. However, provided my father was safely out of the way, this should take very little time. After that, assuming the island does not incur much damage in my absence, it should then be a relatively simple matter to hold it together long enough for Catherine to return to Riven and evacuate the remaining islanders. Predetermining a signal without knowing the topography of the island may prove to be impossible, but I'm afraid there can be only one answer to the question of whether or not I should send my friend to Riven with a way out. The potential for failure will be greatly diminished if the prison book is all that is taken there. I'm sure my father is expecting me to bring a linking book to Riven, and he may not be disappointed. Upon rereading it, it does occur to me that tells us absolutely nothing about how Catherine got stuck here. We know that prior to the start of Mist, that his sons had been destroying some of the books in Atras's library, and that Atras had been expecting Catherine to be there or return there because he left a message for her, and yet somehow she's ended up in Riven, which is very strange. Clearly she hasn't been here for the full 33 years that his father had. It's hard to imagine how that could have happened unless it was just a tragic accident that she picked up the wrong book or something. Or his son somehow contrived it. Anyway, so this book starts about 5 years earlier to the entries that I had just been reading. This is presumably written from Gen's perspective, although I suppose we don't strictly know that yet. So at this point he would have already been stuck on Riven for about 28 years. And it looks like he's been trying to craft new books. Originate books as opposed to just writing in them. Which, to be honest, makes sense. That would be his only way out, one presumes. Let's see. So again, if we're assuming these are years, month, days, and this is about 3 months later, I I am discontinuing regular observation of the stars beneath the fissure. Although I've been able to track the dark cloud-like formations that migrate through the star field and have proven that their paths are cyclical, without proper instrumentation it is pointless to continue. My general theory concerning the nature of the fissure has remained unaltered since it first appeared. It seems that the fabric of this age has been breached in a way that permits matter to be hospitably exchanged between two distinct but overlapping spaces, much like a link. But the apparent physical contradictions surrounding this juncture defy logical reason. The great column of wind that was formed when the fissure just appeared suggests a vacuum, as one might expect in space, yet my early experimentations revealed the presence of a breathable atmosphere. That Atris and Catherine threw themselves into the void is further evidence that it might be safe to travel. Without knowing its true nature, I cannot take the risk myself. It is also difficult to say what would happen if I were to reopen it after so long. But it is likely that the results would be catastrophic, given the changes that have occurred in this age since that time. Interesting. Maintenance on the steam vent caps. So maintenance on the steam vent caps completed. So this is what, 7 months later still? Completed 83.2.10. I'm extremely pleased with the continued success of this system. I believe the construction to have been true to the designs of my memory. Another example of the superiority of Denis technology. It's ironic that Atris and Catherine unwittingly provided me with such a convenient source of power. As with many of my views over the years, my thoughts regarding the origin of the fissure have changed. I've recently begun to wonder whether it was actually an unexpected byproduct of the changes Catherine and Atris wrote into this age during their escape. Certainly, by casting their linking book into the void, they trapped me here quite effectively. So I wonder if what they did was they jumped into the void with the book and then they used the book. But I do not believe that Atris intended the book to be lost in this manner. Much better to destroy it than to risk the possibility of it falling into unknown hands. Also, had they foreseen the creation of this fissure, they would surely have thought that the vacuum it created would eventually consume the atmosphere of this planet, a fate which Catherine undoubtedly would have deemed unacceptable. For her home world. Ooh. So Catherine is from Riven. If I had not been there to supervise the construction of the seal, this is most certainly what would have happened. For the villagers were far too frightened to even approach the vortex without my urging, I hold on to the belief that it was an unintended consequence of their writing for another reason as well. I prefer to think that my son had meant for this age to be merely a prison for me, rather than a death sentence. And what, this is about 3 months later? The construction of the images has proceeded without fault. I think that's images. It is interesting to see how easily I've been able to adapt the Denis technology to mimic that of the Ahmad? I'm not sure. In some ways, the similarities between the two cultures were striking. I wonder if perhaps there had been communication or commerce between the two cultures in earlier times. Maybe Keter's people were even descendants of the Denis. It pleases me to think so. These diagrams are probably telling me something important. But I can't quite make heads or tails of them yet. No, it's possible that if I were somehow able to supply the books with a power source of sufficient magnitude, I could suppress the variance enough to facilitate a solid link. It is doubtful that the geothermal cap generators could provide such an enormous surge. Perhaps I could adapt the fine marbles? I think that's what it says. I've been cataloguing the natural elements of this age for nearly 30 years now, yet still I continue to find evidence of the Denis preoccupation with 5. Ah, that's the Denis thing, is it? As a boy, it was very clear to me that the number 5 had a special significance to the Denis society. From the ancient heraldic emblems of the ruling elite to the humble homes of the commoners, it was ubiquitous. Its presence here is obviously a direct reflection of the minds that designed the texts that are used to compose this age. Further proof that through the arts the Denis masters were indeed creating the marvellous worlds they wrote. And not, as many have mistakenly thought, merely building links to pre-existing worlds. That's very interesting. While most of my construction have been based on Denis designs, I see now that the ones that I have imbued with the power of 5 are clearly the most beautiful, the most perfect, and I believe the most structurally sound. I'm still attempting to determine how the Denis colour symbology reflects the superior design principle. Although superficially it is based on a 6 colour system, I am convinced that there has to be a deeper connection to 5. I will continue to investigate. I recognise those symbols as the symbols that go round and round and round on some of the rotating devices we've encountered. Just going to create a copy of them. Okay, how much later is this? This was a very long entry, wasn't it? So that's 83.5.14 is 83.9, so it's about 4 months later, 0.11. I finally made a breakthrough. I've succeeded in modifying the 5 marbles to generate enough power to hold a descriptive linking book in a stable matrix. I have linked to a new world. It is a harsh and desolate age, but it is nevertheless well suited for my purposes, and so I have designated it my that's one of the numerals, isn't it? I had assumed they were the Riven indigenous people's numerals, but I wonder if this is instead to the Denis. Number system. That looks like a combination of the symbol for 9 and the symbol for 8, which would suggest 98. His 98th world, but somehow that seems unlikely, doesn't it? By studying it closely, I believe I will eventually be able to create a more appropriate age for us to settle on. So there's more than one person here. For now, I will build an office and set up my living quarters there. In order that I may conduct my experiments in safety and without distraction. So I wonder if that's where that book I found goes. I must admit that I am proud of my work. To think that in such primitive conditions I have accomplished in 29 years what it took the original Denis centuries to achieve. No. Repairs? What does that say? Repairs outer... No, it repairs outer wall for work on this world. The goggles may need to be redesigned altogether. I feel like I must be misreading part of that. What have we got here? This entry is about 6 months later. Not quite, 5 months later, I think. No? No, my math is wrong. 7 months later. I have begun construction on a series of link sites for each island that will connect Riven with my new office on... and then the symbol for the world. The Survey Guild has finally completed the site location for each island according to my exact specifications, and installation of the domes is underway at last. So this was happening only 3 years before we got to work on the central power sources. Got off to a bit of a bad start, I'm afraid, but the pace has picked up considerably since then, and I anticipate no further delays. I'm looking forward to finally having a civilized mode of transportation. Now those are the same symbols I saw inside that big dome building. Due to the rebels' continued disturbances, I've decided to install a coded access system into all of the domes. Better make a copy of that. So this is what, a year later? Yeah. I caught one of my assistants looking over this journal today. I'm glad I've chosen to write it in a language they cannot decipher. Note, discuss security with each guild master. No problems expected from the maintainers, educations, and surveyors. Question the bookmakers and builders more closely. And this is almost 2 years later. Let me check against the dates in this book. Yeah, so this is getting on for only a year before the earliest entries in Atris's journal. Today I heard several more reports of spirit sightings by some of the villagers. It seems that under Catherine's leadership, the rebels on the Black Mority? The rebels as the Black Mority, I think it says, as the villagers obstinately insist on referring to them, have attained a new level of sophistication in their something tactics. And have renewed their campaign to intimidate the villagers into joining them, playing upon their abased superstitions. The villagers are certainly susceptible to this form of coercion, especially given of late the rebels' increasing acts of vandalism and theft. So this is what, 3 months later, and this is only what, about 6 months before the earliest entries in Atris's journal. The something traps have been steadily fruitful this year. Apparently the breakup of the islands has not adversely affected the subterranean ecosystems. That looks like Yitham or something. Unfortunately, I imagine the rebels are experiencing a similarly generous harvest. No shortage of poison for their darts this season. Such morbid issues aside, the sudden availability has allowed me to refine a particularly pleasant extract for my pipe, and that is smoother than any of the others from recent years. Oh, sorry, one that is smoother than any of the others from recent years. Okay, 2 months later. Chemical analysis of one of the rebel knives has yielded curious results. Its composition contains elements that are unlike anything I've encountered on the islands. It appears they have access to a resource of which I am unaware. Perhaps a mine. Perhaps a mine, as on Uncharted Island. That's probably supposed to be perhaps a mine on an uncharted island. That's a knife then. Presumably. Most of the knives have been found on the south side of the village. This is the same area in which there have been reports of people mysteriously disappearing. I think a closer inspection of the area is warranted. The fact that they leave these distinctive knives as a sign of their presence concerns me. They're growing more bold and seem to no longer fear discovery of their hideout. Okay, I think this is what, 3 months after that, and this is almost contemporaneous with the start of Actress's Journal, I think. Okay, so it's actually later. So we have Atras saying, they held for more than 30 years, but the corrections I made to Riven have finally failed. The island has resumed the familiar pattern of decay that is a hallmark of my father's work. I must now race to implement this new patch before it's too late. I only hope that my revised theories are sound. Then revisions to Riven complete. There are still a number of minor adjustments which need to be made, but the basic corrections have been entered and should be working. Something's not right. I've been monitoring the instruments for several hours now, but have thus far observed no change. It's possible that I've made an error, though I've checked my entry against my pre-notation, can find no discrepancy. I've not had rest in nearly 3 days, so it may be that I'm just not seeing it. If the fault is with my foundational assumptions, however, perhaps after a short rest I will see something. Then, after that success, it appears that my repairs have been effective after all. The gateway image has become noticeably clearer, and although it is impossible to know although it is impossible to know this with absolute certainty, the island seems to have quieted itself. Just a few more weeks of work, and I should be free, at last, to go there myself and attempt to bring Catherine back. The past 8 months have left me little time to think, to devise a strategy for getting her out of there. I've received no sign from her in all that time. I'm afraid that... No, I must assume that she is all right, lest my fear undermine my efforts to bring her back. I did not create the Age of Riven, unlike my father. I have never presumed to have such power, and yet the future of all those who live there has fallen into my hands. So far, I've managed to read the page before it turns. The island continues to appear stable, and I'd like to believe that I have saved a dying world. But the fears of one individual cannot support the lives of real people indefinitely. I must get everyone off the Riven as soon as possible. The problem now is Gen. Dum-de-dum-de-dum. History with Gen. I think I have the solution. Why did it not occur to me sooner? I do not know, unless the idea of it had been pushed out with the thought of my sons. The prison book, dum-de-dum-de-dum. That's as far as that concludes all the entries that precede this other entry by Gen. I assume Gen. The latest measurements indicate that the recent trend has continued. The movement of the islands has slowed tremendously. My previous climate prediction... my previous estimates predicted a total collapse in approximately 3 months, but with the new figures I am uncertain. I've finished writing the 99th age. Is that 99? Yeah, it would be. And I have every faith that it will indeed be a safe place for us to relocate to. Yet it would be helpful to know what has caused the halt in the Age's breakup. It is possible it's stable after all. If so, I must discover how this age differs from my less successful attempts. My examination of the 98th. I don't understand that. It looks like he's written RD at the end. But that doesn't figure with the numeral system I had written down. Oh! Is he adding a horizontal line for no apparent reason? Because then that would have made the numbers 43rd and 44th. 43rd and 44th. It seems likely, doesn't it? I just don't understand why. Where was I? My examination of what I'm assuming is the 43rd age have thus far proven inconclusive. Or perhaps someone is repairing the damage to the 5th age. If so, it would almost certainly be Atris's doing. I've reluctantly decided to abandon my experiments into the behaviour of the waters. Into the water of this age, as there are more pressing matters on which I must now concentrate, leaving me little time for such speculative research. For future reference, however, my investigations up to this point have revealed the following. I believe the remarkable properties of the water to be caused by a life form that resides in it, specifically a type of bacteria. I'm imagining a motile unicellular organism, but one with structures capable of holding bits of water, whose combined effect, via surface tension, a storage force, a stronger force, causes the composite body of water to move in response to heat. Prolonged exposure to extreme heat, for example a period of extended boiling, seems to kill the bacteria, which would explain its dramatic aversion to heat sources. Unfortunately, the theories are still not fully tested, and I remain ignorant both of the deeper nature and to its practical uses. Okay, and here we have a later entry. So let's go back to Atris's journal. Trouble. My nightly analysis of the island's condition has revealed that the tremors have begun again. The pattern, however, is new. The disturbances are a result of the changes I have made. This did not at first concern me. However, tremors of this type were one of the possible side effects I'd anticipated during this initial phase of the island's readjustment. Still, in order to verify my assumptions, I decided to calculate again, incorporating the new data. The results were not what I expected. The damage to the understructure is more extensive than I realised. I can no longer go to Riven as planned. Catherine, forgive me. I must act while I still have time. The signs are barely visible, but there's no question that the island's deterioration is accelerating. Total collapse is imminent unless I can keep ahead, and that is becoming increasingly difficult to do. With every passing moment, I gain a clearer picture of the incredible chaos that my father's economy of words has yielded, but it is a dismaying process. The complexity of the problem is overwhelming. There is no end to this. The last few days have all but convinced me that the collapse of Riven is inevitable, and that at best I can only strive to delay it now, and hope that at some point the island will become stable enough to risk a rescue attempt. And then we go back to Gen's entry. An exciting development. Last night, a squad of maintainers stumbled upon a lone rebel scout and obtained from him a most incredible device. It is a crystal that somehow powers these flawed linking books, much as my own system does, but with an obvious advantage. It is small and weighs only a few pounds, making it completely portable. Catherine must have fabricated the devices before I captured her, obviously with an explicit Denis schematic she must have brought with her to this age. If only I had access to such a document all these years. Regardless, I can now concentrate solely on the... Is that uniting of ages? I need no longer worry about building elaborate power supplies for each new book I write. Oh, I can now concentrate solely on the writing of ages and need no longer worry about building elaborate power supplies for each new book I write. This is a sobering reminder, however, that I must continue to seek a avenue to Denis. Regaining access to the resources there may be crucial to the completion of my mission. Interesting. And we had one other page there, didn't we? Over to the side. And this is indeed later. So we go back to Atris's book. I think I've come up with a way to subdue the tremors. It will require my exclusive attention for at least a month or two, so it may be necessary to discontinue these journal entries for a while. Something truly miraculous has happened. Beyond all conceivable probability, someone has finally found my lost and missed linking book and has freed me from this prison. We've read that before. The last few days have left me little time... Well, we've read all this before, but... The last few days have left me little time to work out the remaining problems of sending someone else to Riven. It did occur to me, however, that if there could be a way found to signal me once Gen had been captured... And that's the last entry. So this is much later. Last week, while monitoring the situation of the villages from the scope in my survey room, I observed one of the natives swim out to a small object that appeared to be floating, but anchored near the entrance to the bay. I ordered the object removed from the waters for inspection. Several days later, however, I was surprised to see another floating there. The missing objects had apparently, and quite mysteriously, been replaced with a new one overnight. I've long been aware of the existence of similar artifacts on the villagers' islands, but have paid them little notice until now. Tomorrow I shall send everyone to catalogue the others. Oh, and those look like the little devices we see around, with these circular devices which have eyes on one side. One of these, and a number on the other. Which one is that numbered as? I don't recognise that. Wait, could it be the wrong way up? Yeah, that would make it 5. Ah. Interesting. Very interesting. So it looks like Gen was a lot closer to escaping Riven than Atris had realised. Interesting. I wonder if that room I found just off of the village could have which seemed to have some sort of lock based on animals. I wonder if that could have been the rebels' hiding place. Interesting. So this is that fancy water trying to escape the heat, I assume. One slightly concerning thing is it seems like those dates in the journal must overlap with our coming here. Though it's surprising there was no journal entry that mentions our coming here. That looks like the device for capturing the frog. Hold on, that looks a lot like... No, I don't know what those are. For a moment it looked a bit like it could be shotgun shells or something, but I don't think it is. I think they're just little containers or something. Oh, those are frogs that he's captured and preserved. Okay, so I think that's... I think that's this area fairly well investigated. I suppose the next thing to do is check out the book. The only thing that worries me, I don't think this is a prison book anymore, but looking at this contraption and thinking about the entries I saw earlier in his journal, I get the feeling this is how he was destroying books. So that makes me think this was a book that he intended to destroy but never got round to. Slightly concerning. Oh, it's been partially destroyed. Yeah, this could be dangerous. But I can only imagine there is a way out. Because he obviously got back somehow, so there's presumably a linking book on the other side. Oh, I can't use it. It's been damaged to... It's been damaged beyond use. Unless I had some way to repair it, which I don't. This book's a dud. Let's take the other way back then, shall we? Huh, I'm surprised the car was here already. I'd have expected it to be on the other side. So let's try this area to begin with. See if any of this makes more sense now. So this was how we could influence... This is how we could influence where the water was going. Given what we know now from that journal, it makes me think that this is just based on heating elements or something, which is causing the water to want to rise. No idea why we'd want to, though. But surely he couldn't have built all this since after we got here. So I have to conclude that this must have been part of his earlier experiments that were inconclusive. Right, what else did we have? I've been over there. So why can I not go there anymore? Oops, I didn't want to do that, did I? Oh well, we can cheese it the way we did before. Hello, Trumpet. Riven's going quite well. How are you? I've recently discovered what I assume was Gen's workshop, and I've read his journal. Ah, that is what made the difference. Okay, that's interesting. Excellent. I'm glad you're doing so well. Yeah, I spend about the best part of the first hour just reading out Gen's journal and Atris's journal, cross-referencing them by date. Well, I got in by turning the fan off and then climbing through the vent. Ah, okay, this is making more sense now. Kind of. So whichever one of these I activate controls which ones I can select on that control over there. That still doesn't tell me what it's doing though. I don't... It seems to be trying to show me the topography of something, but I don't know what it is the topography of. Oh no, Trumpet, that was me. That's where I got stuck at the end of last stream. But as I said at the very start of this stream, it was only about 15 minutes after I had ended the stream that I realised that the lever I had been pulling must have been toggling the fan. And in fact, I saved the game last time right in front of that lever, funnily enough. So the moment I began the stream today, that was the first thing I did. No, that's alright. Honestly, it's nice that you're taking an interest. Now, I can't tell what this device is telling me yet. Still haven't figured out how to solve that puzzle. So I may be coming back here shortly if I can't figure out anything else to do elsewhere. Oh, I see. Mist Free. Is that Exile? Is that the name of the game? I've no doubt I'll be playing that as well at some point. Whether that's the next game I play or not will probably depend upon how quickly I finish Riven, because I definitely want to play the new Monkey Island game when it comes out. wondered about that strange water before that seemed to be above here, just suspended. I wonder if he's using heating elements to cause it to want to stay up, given what I now know. I may be wrong, but I think that's the first time I've had to call the cable car anywhere. I think previously it'd always been ready and waiting for me. No worries. See you when you're back. Now I wonder if this is how I was originally supposed to discover about that shrine that opens up. I could go through there, but I'm not. I'm gonna go up again. I understand. How many of these are there? There's 5 of them, isn't there? I did get a 5 character code from Gen's journal. But it's not clear what those characters represent, since they don't seem to either be numbers or letters, so far as I can see. Nevertheless, it might be worth popping by the school again and seeing if there's any help there. One of the villagers setting off the sirens. The only problem with thinking I'm going to go back to the school is the fact that I don't think I ever got the submarine back. Because I remember I managed to take it out to... what was it called? There was a name for that big circular structure, wasn't there? This structure. I've forgotten what we were calling it. The submarine's down there, but I never found a way to get back down there. Because I solved some puzzles over here, which led to me getting up to the top, but then there didn't seem to be a way back down, so I can't actually get to the submarine to use it as transport. Because I can get up here easily, but I can't get down there. Yes, that's actually a big problem, isn't it? Oh well, let's head over in that direction and see if I can figure anything out. Yeah, and this thing's up. So that's probably how I was supposed to discover that this area existed at all. I just happened to do it out of order. Where am I going? Round here. Round here. And then up here. And this is where I was stuck before, because I couldn't figure out a way back down. I don't suppose that's reset it as a side effect, has it? No, no such luck. That was it. There was something I could pull down there, wasn't there? I'm thinking this might be the rebels' hideout. Before again captured Catherine. Oh, I had it the right way round anyway, didn't I? And that's the knife. That's the knife symbol we saw. So yes, I think it's extremely likely that this is the rebels' base, and if I only knew what the combination was, then I'd be able to get in there. Okay, it seems really rather important that I figure out how to get back to the submarine. Oh, it's not a submarine at all, is it? It's a underwater cart, because it's on rails, isn't it? And I remember before people told me that the reason I was having so much trouble was because I didn't understand how it was intended to be used. Like, I didn't understand the significance of this structure from the point of view of the villagers. I seem to remember that's what people said. So what is it that I'm missing? I mean, this sort of structure looks very typical of Gen's work. With the big golden sphere on top. Can't even really make out how this is rigged. It's very interesting that there's only one rope here. I mean, I know there's this other bit of string over here, but it's not like it's a pulley. Because if that were the case, you'd expect two ropes, one on either side. It's more like it's being wound up inside the gold sphere, I think. That suggests in some way I need to interface with the gold sphere to tell it to unwind. I don't really have any way to do that. And I know from checking before that there doesn't appear to be another way over there. Since my character can't swim, it would seem. So it's not like I could get back to the bottom to pull some sort of mechanism to get it to undo that way. Although if I could, I wouldn't even need to. If I could get down there, then that's the current problem solved, since all I want to do is to get back to the underwater cart. Unless... well, I suppose there is another alternative, because I distinctly recall when I first used it, there were no footholds down there. And then I pulled some rope that was hanging down. I think it was probably this rope. And then suddenly it lowered. Yeah, this rope that I'm not allowed to pull now, right this moment, for some reason. It lowered the footholds down. And then I was able to get on top of it, and then it pulled me up. That actually suggests that it is one way. That this is to help someone who's down below to get up. But it's not there to help someone who's already up to get below. So is there an alternative way to do that? Hello, pneumaticist. It's a pleasure to meet you. I don't mind hints. I prefer not to be told. Hello, Trumpet. I've been conjecturing as to how I get back down to use the underwater cart. I was just saying that I'm pretty sure I pulled on this rope when I was down there to cause it to lower those footholds down. Then I stood on those footholds and it brought me up. But that makes me think that it's one way. And it's only designed to bring people who are down below back up and not to bring people who are up down below. Have I tried just clicking on the foothold rope? I thought I had. Yes. Doesn't seem to do anything. Okay, I can't travel back down the rope. Thank you for letting me know. So I was right, it's one way. Fair enough. Well, the reason I wanted to get back down again is because the underwater cart's over there. So that narrows it down to two possibilities. Either there's some other way I can get over there, or there must be some way that I can cause the cart to move about remotely. I think I checked this before, but I'm just going to double check. If I go back to where I originally found the cart, which was up here. What? How did this get back here? I'm not complaining, but seriously, how did it get back there? That is actually really quite aggravating in a way, because I don't know how I can bring it back now. As in, I don't know what I did to bring it back here, so if that happens again, I wouldn't know how to remedy it. You're not the only one on Riven needing to get around. That's true. Although, that does raise the question, how did they do it? Oh well. Never look a gift horse in the mouth, as they say. Yep, that's true. Maybe they can swim and my character can't. Wait, where does it end up again? Oh, I remember. It's all the way past the Sunners, isn't it? I believe that's what someone said they were called. Who knows, maybe those good boys brought it back. I have no idea how intelligent they are. Yep, you're not wrong, Trumpet. Okay, I have a map of the tracks somewhere in my notes. And I'm trying to get there. Okay. I think I want to turn around. Then... Is that how I do it? No. That changes whether the cart will veer to the left or the right. How do I go forwards? That's how. And then I think after this, I just take a right turn and I should end up at the school. So the reason I'm revisiting the school, for those that weren't there when I explained before, is because I have a 5-character code that I got from Gen's journal, which I believe in one way or another must be the solution to the dome puzzles, where you have the domes that open up and then you have the little sliders. But I don't know what those symbols mean, and I do know that they are neither digits nor letters in the language that was being taught at the school. I originally assumed it was the indigenous language, but I now have reason to believe it may in fact be the Dani language. This should be the right place. Nope, I've clearly gone wrong. I have indeed gone wrong. Where have I ended up? I have ended up there. Oh, I see what I did wrong. I should have turned around. I was facing the wrong direction when I did the last forwards. Oh, I see. Never mind. So yeah, I want to quickly wander back to the school and see if I can find any symbols that resemble the symbols I copied out from Gen's journal. They keep wandering around and just staring at rocks. Yes, I certainly do, don't I? Which way? I'm facing... Yeah, this should take me to the school. Yeah. Learning those symbols will really help. Do you mean the symbols that were in Gen's journal, or do you mean the other symbols, the letters and numbers? Or both? Okay. What do we have here? I suppose I should have a quick look just to verify that it isn't the letters, because I know when I copied them out I didn't do a perfect job, but I'm fairly confident it is not the letters. And this is where I learnt the numerals, and I know it's not the numerals. Oh dear, no help here. Ah, the symbols I saw in Gen's journal. Yes, I'm very motivated to learn them. The issue is, I'm not certain where I can do so. Where the necessary information is.
Terekoi Danni, Kibayem Revat, Arroyem Betig Tavom, Gabodonagayem.
They definitely aren't the numerals unless they are numerals past 10. That, or they've been drawn in a different fashion or something. Like, for example, the final symbol that I have copied out from the journal is a square box with a cross in the middle of it. There just simply isn't a numeral that looks like that. Not unless I've made a mistake somewhere. Yes, I imagine they can count past 10. The problem is I don't know what their symbols are past 10. Because I'm pretty sure this device only goes up to 10. Yes, and some of these symbols really quite clearly aren't just taking two existing symbols and putting them together. It's not like they're overlaying them or something, although that would be a bit of a silly way to do it anyway. Because, you know, what happens if you have a number like 11? 1, 1. Yes, I have 1 to 10 figured out. I was just popping back to the school in case I had, when I first came here, I had missed some other symbols somewhere, but I don't think I have. And hello Pengy, I hope you're well. The symbols I'm discussing are the symbols in Gen's journal. I found Gen's journal in his office, and I copied out a combination code of 5 characters, and I am personally convinced that that must be the solution to the slider puzzle, because you have those domes which have those 5 little sliders that you can pull up and down, and I reckon that's the combination. The problem is, I don't know how to turn the symbols that I have copied out from his journal into positions on the slider board. So that's where I'm stuck. I'm assuming somewhere about I can find a clue as to what those symbols actually are. And as I think it was Trumpet pointed out in the chat, they could easily be just higher numerals. They may well be, but I don't remember coming across anything that was teaching me higher numerals. Where was I? I suppose I was looking at my, or I should have been looking at my map to take me back. Oh, I need to turn this around, don't I? I'm not trying to spoil anything, but I don't want to see you aimlessly wandering around for clues that don't exist. Fair enough. Wait, which way am I facing right now? I need to turn this around, don't I? Thing is, I very, very much doubt that the game devs intended me to just try every combination on that slider puzzle. And if I'm right that the characters I copied out of Gen's notebook are the is the combination, then surely the devs somewhere must have given me a hint as to how I get from one to the other. There is some logic to these symbols at least. Okay, I'll look at that in just a second then. It's fully logical, fair enough. I didn't mean to end up here. I must have gone wrong. Oh, I see what I did. If you're familiar with Zoolander, the hints are in the numbers. I'm afraid I'm not, but no, I do very much take your point. I should be able to look at these symbols and figure it out. I just want to remind myself of what's over here, because I have a note on my map for over here, but I've forgotten what it was. Oh, I see. That makes perfect sense. Okie doke. Right, having a look at these numerals. Okay, there is a very obvious logic to the first 10. It looks as though they have symbols for 1 to 5, each of which is unique. And then after that, they repeat the symbols for 1 through 4, but they overlap the symbol for 5. So 5 is in fact a square with a horizontal line in the middle. So for 6, 7, 8 and 9, they are 1, 2, 3 and 4 with a horizontal line added. Those symbols in the journal are randomized per game. Even though the puzzles are the same, the solutions differ. But a few games then has one symbol that is slightly less logical. Don't know if you got it though. Okay, thank you for letting me know. This is true, but you'll have to trust me that I'm very funny and my joke is great. Will do. So the first symbol I got looks like 10, but with something on the over the top of it that I don't recognise. Oh no, it doesn't. I beg your pardon. It looks like 2 with something over the top of it that I don't recognise. That makes more sense. And the next one is probably 3 plus this unknown symbol. And the next one 4 plus it. Then what do we have after that? We have 1 plus another symbol I've not seen. And then an entirely new symbol. Okay, so I suppose we can call them 2 plus x, 3 plus x, 4 plus x. Then we have 1 plus y and z, we'll call them. That doesn't tell me what they are, but that really heavily constrains the possibility space. Especially since I can assume that those unknown character components are almost certainly multiples of 5. I could go back and show you it. Tell you what, if I don't get this relatively quickly, that's what we'll do. I'm feeling confident enough that I probably won't need to, but I also appreciate that you don't want to be left out. So, a important question is that one or is that one? I'm guessing that's 1, so that would be 6, if I'm right. So that's 10, and then we have 2 plus x. Hold on. Let's just briefly move these all over to the other side. Since I'm assuming these are in ascending order, this is going to be the easiest way to do this, to have them drop back. Then we have 3 plus x, then 4 plus x. Then we have... That's true, I am only assuming they're in ascending order, aren't I? They might not be. Then we have 1 plus y, and then we have a completely new one. It's not that. That's fair enough. As I said, it just constrains the possibility space a lot. It doesn't give me a definite solution. There's going to be, what, about 6 different possibilities? It's not that one. No, there's going to be much fewer than that, isn't there? Because assuming they were listed in ascending order, there's much fewer possibilities than that. So that's another possibility I haven't tried. Nope. So I think that narrows it down to just one other possibility. That was it. Oh, goodness me. Right, so I think that code must have been 22, 23, 24, 26 and 30. It really helped that that they listed the numbers in ascending order. That really locked down the number of possibilities. Let's have a quick save here, shall we? Okay, and that undoes it. Oh, okay. If that, sorry, Trumpet says 26 and 30 aren't possible in this code, then I must be out by 5. Hold on, let me see. That's 5, 10, 15, 25, 30. Surely. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, 15, 25, 30. No? Oh, did I count wrong? Sorry. So 5, 10, 15, 20, 25. Yep, you're right. I was counting, skipping a number. Apparently I'm innumerate. Sorry, that makes it 17, 18, 19, 21 and 25. Yes, if the numbers hadn't been sequential, that would have made it a bit more difficult. That's one of the numbers I never deciphered. There were 2-digit numbers. But this should be the earlier one, I think, of the 2 I read about in the journal. I think this should be the... Was it a world filled with lava, he said? Something like that. I don't like the look of that. Oh well. Only one way to find out. Oh, it doesn't work. Perhaps I need to power it somehow. I know he did say something about... having to provide power to the linking books. The last symbol looks like a square with a cross through it, like an X. I can't see any way to power it from here. Yep, doesn't look like an access this yet. Let's try the other one. I want the other way, don't I? Wrong way. Yeah, I want this way, don't I? Where does this go again? Oh, that was it. That goes back to the starting island, doesn't it? Wait, is there no way for me to call it over here? Oh, that's annoying. Guess not. Okay, if that's the case, then... then I need to go the other way. Which, thinking about it, probably would have been quicker anyway. Ooh. There's probably another one in there, another book. If only I knew where the mechanism was to open it. There's not a mechanism up here, is there? Don't think so. Doesn't look like it. Ah, those rings then must be producing heat, and that's what's keeping the water away. Although I don't see why he would need rings that far up. Perhaps up to that point we still weren't above the water level, and it's just because it's a narrow tunnel. By installing those rings, the water won't will be completely kept out. Let me think. Fastest way over to the other one of those domes. Through this way. This must have been so frustrating when people had to change the CD every time they changed island. Nearly there. So let's try that again. What was it? 21, 19, 18, 17. This one also doesn't work currently. So there's a step I must be missing. How odd. Those crystals. Again talked about the rebels having some sort of crystal which provided a great deal of power. So I'm guessing if I find my way into the rebel base, I will then get access to crystals which I can use to power the books. So it makes solving that puzzle my next priority. While I'm here, ever so quickly, let's double check the numbers he gave to those books. That was the code. His new office is on that world, or at least it was. It is a harsh and desolate age, but is nevertheless well suited for my purpose, and so I have designated it my Erd. That was one of the knives that the rebels had. Right, I will go back. To where I believe the rebel base is momentarily. I just had to see if I can figure out where that is. Since that might give me access to yet another book. Can't really tell, can we? Oh, that's so frustrating. Oh well. Round this way, I think. Oh, oops. So let's see if I can figure out this mechanism. So it expects a combination of 5. Let's double check that. Or is it 6? It could be 6. It probably is 6, isn't it? When I press down one when I press down a 6th that isn't the one it was... When I press down a 6th and it doesn't have the combination it wants, it probably causes them all to reset. To be fair though, I don't know if it were a combination of 5, I don't know that once I put 5 down it wouldn't trigger then. Anyway, so I suppose all I can really say is a combination of either 5 or 6. Now, I remember Gen saying something about there being a part of the village where the villagers used to do their knife sharpening, I think it was. And that there was a rebel presence there. So perhaps I should have a poke about the parts of the village I can get to. And see if I can find anything instructive. Informative, I suppose I mean. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to be able to get to the necessary parts of the village, am I? This could be a clue. But then again, it might not be. So the underwater cart's still where I left it. It hasn't magically moved again. I tell you where I should check, the temple. I wonder what that did. Next time I see one of those, I should check and see if it makes the same noise. So that sounded like something chirping. Another candidate creature. So there's a few creatures on here, but nothing that would really indicate that it's got anything to do with the combination lock. No. But that's not that surprising, because I feel like this whole temple seems to be built around Gen's teachings, and of course the rebels were working against him. Right now, I'm predominantly trying to figure out how the solution to the animal combination lock, because I believe that that is probably a lock that lets me get to the rebels' hideout, and I suspect the rebels have crystals which I can use to power those linking books. So I was just backtracking through areas I'd been before for clues. That's a different sound. I wonder if these eye things are the solution to the combination lock. If I know which animal makes that sound, I wonder if that's then the solution. What number's that? Three. A question I ask myself when I hit this kind of point in puzzle games is, what have I seen that I don't yet know what it is or what it is for? There's the undersea area where I can where I can interact with those sea creatures. What else? There's the island on that same island up the top. There's the machine that lets me look at what seems to be the topography of places, but it's not clear what places it is a topography of, assuming it is topography. There's and connected to that, there's the machine that seems to raise water up. And depending upon which piece of water I raise, it changes what bits of topography I can look at. Slightly different, but I do know there is another dome that I should be able to get into, but I haven't yet found the mechanism to get in there yet. And then of course there's these eyes. I haven't gotten to the bottom of what's going on there. This isn't even the way I'm meant to go. I want to go the other way. Oh goodness me, those summoners came back quickly. So I'm just quickly visiting all the spherical devices I know about. Now I know they're all making unique sounds. That's 2, isn't it? Right, what other ones of these do I know? Was there one at the start? I think there might have been. On the first island. So my current conjecture is that there's probably one of these little spherical devices. For each spherical device makes the noise of one animal. And I reckon that the sequence of animals is the combination lock. That's my current hypothesis. I'm not sure how many spheres I've seen so far. I've got a feeling I've seen 5. But I'm just going back to verify that. The question is, was there one in around here somewhere? Because I thought there was. But I may be misremembering. Oh, maybe there wasn't. Maybe that's just my memory at fault. Ah, I see. That's fine. Was there one round here? Okay, I've not been here before. I must have powered it at some point and not realised I'd done it. Oh, this is interesting, isn't it? Oh! That's nice. Uh, 26, wasn't it? 19, 18, 17. Yep. Yet another dud. That's odd. I already have I'm fairly certain I've already encountered a book of that number. That is very odd. I still don't understand how you figured out the numbers. It wasn't that difficult. Where were my notes? There they are. All I observed... So I made a couple of assumptions. I assumed the numbers were in ascending order. Strictly speaking, I could have done it if that weren't the case, but being in ascending order made it a lot easier. Once I assumed that, I could see that there was... The first three numbers I had all seemed to be the number 2 plus some other value, which I didn't know. Then the... Sorry, I'm not speaking correctly, am I? I knew that the first one was 2 plus a value I didn't know. I knew the second one was 3 plus a value I didn't know. I knew the third one was 4 plus a value I didn't know. And I knew that that value was the same in all cases. So there's only so many possibilities. I knew it couldn't be 1 to 10. So it either had to be... The first three either had to be that, or that. They had to be. There's no alternatives. Assuming that the extra values were multiples of 5, actually. I was assuming that just as the numbers 6, 7, 8 and 9 were all 1, 2, 3 and 4 plus an additional plus 5, I was assuming they were doing that again. So it was like 10 plus 1, 2, 3 or 4, which I would have recognised because I knew what 10 was, or 15 plus that, or 20 plus that, and so on. So that narrowed it down. I knew I was looking at some combination of there was going to be a group of 3 of them together, with one in the second position, one in the third position, one in the fourth position, after a multiple of 5, presuming the symbol I didn't know was a multiple of 5. And then I had another symbol that appeared to be 1 plus something I didn't know, which was distinct from that. So assuming they're in ascending order, it would have to be that, or that. And then finally I had another one that I didn't recognise at all, which meant that it didn't have 1, 2, 3 or 4 added to it. It must be exactly that, that or that. And that's how I did it. I hope that made some sense. It's 17, 18, 19, 21 and 25. That's because I knew I had... So the way I denoted it in my notes was 2 plus x, followed by 3 plus x, followed by 4 plus x, followed by 1 plus y, followed by z. And so, of course, if x, y and z are all multiples of 5, then that doesn't leave many combinations. And so 2 plus x, for example, would be 15 plus 2. Oh, I said that in a confusing way, didn't I? 2 plus x would be 2 plus 15, for example. Or that was one of the possibilities. The sequence was sequential. If the sequence hadn't been sequential, then it would have still been possible to do it because I would have still had the groupings. I would have known that I had a grouping of 3 which were 1 apart, and I'd have known I had another one which was a multiple of 5 plus 1, and another one which was just a multiple of 5, but that would have left a lot more combinations. If I couldn't rely on them being in ascending order, then I would have had to have tried more combinations. But it wouldn't have been so many combinations that it was brute forcing it per se. It would have, been... I mean, how many combinations would there have been? I'd have to do the maths to figure it out exactly, but there would have probably been like 15 combinations instead of 4 combinations or something like that. What was I doing here? I was doing something, wasn't I? Oh yeah, I remember what I was doing here. Most streamers I watch don't pick up on the multiple of 5 part. Yes, that was the big assumption. Had it not gone in multiples of 5, if the numbering system had been more erratic, if they'd done something like the numbers 6, 7, 8 and 9 are like 5 plus the symbol for 1, 5 plus the symbol of 2 and so on, but then supposing after 10 it went up to say 17, where 17 was like the symbol for 10 plus the symbol for 7, although then you would end up repeating yourself, wouldn't you? Okay, so let's say it had gotten up to 13, so it was, say, the symbol for 10 plus the symbol for 3, and then 14 had an entirely unique symbol, and then 15 was the symbol for 14 plus 1, and so on. If it had been erratic in that way, it would have been a real beast to try and figure out. It was the multiple of 5 thing that made it tractable. Most people get a beast. That's 5, isn't it? Which I've already seen. What did they say last week? While monitoring the situation of the villagers from the scope in my survey room. Oh, that's what that is. I assume his survey room is the room where you can contact the animals, the sea animals. Possibly not. Possibly that's a different room. I observed one of the natives swim out to a small object that appeared to be floating, but anchored, near the entrance of the bay. I ordered the object removed from the waters for inspection. Several days later, however, I was surprised to see another floating there. The missing object had apparently and quite mysteriously been replaced with a new one overnight. I've long been aware of the existence of similar artifacts on the villager's island. They're only on the villager's island. Okay, that is very good information, but I've paid them little notice until now. Tomorrow I shall send surveyors to catalogue the others. Shame I don't have a copy of his catalogue. Right. So, eyes out for more of those spheres, I guess. I currently know about one at the sand pit, one at the sunner spot, and one at the cable car. It's worth taking the underwater cart around a bit, I suppose. Because there could easily be some more of those little spheres in the other areas where it can dock. So I know about that one. Still don't know why I'm able to put water in there though, or what purpose that serves. Yeah, that's not there, is it? Where did I leave it? I left it over on the villager's side, didn't I? So let's go back there. There it is. Right, where is my map? My map's somewhere about here. Okay, that's where I am. So I think I need to turn this around. Is that how I do it? Yeah. Yes, there is the one on the desk, as you correctly point out. But the one on the desk seems to be a duplicate of the Sunner one. And it doesn't make a noise either. So it's not actually all that useful. I'm not going to bother getting up here, because if I've navigated correctly, this will just take me to... Going up there would have just taken me to the big circular platform I've forgotten the name of. And I think it's safe to assume that there won't be one there. The circular platform is a gallows, essentially. Goodness. I don't see another one of those little circular devices here. Fair enough. Nothing there. Oh no, I wanted that way, didn't I? And this needs to be turned around. I wonder if there could have been one of those circular devices at the far end of the tunnel, which also goes to what I believe to be the rebel base. Oh, I think I must have gone the wrong way actually just then. I think I was supposed to turn around. Yes, I was. Was I? Where have I ended up? Oh no, that's correct. That's where I wanted to be. Near the animal pillars. When you go into the cave, this cave, there's a point at which you can choose to go left or right. There's a door that swings from side to side and closes off one of the two directions you can go in. And so I'm wondering if I follow it the other way from the animal pillars down to the water, if there could be one there. Down here? Don't think so. That's a shame. Where else could there be one? I mean, they tend to be built into the rock, don't they? Which doesn't leave a lot of possibilities. Oh, I wish I'd paid more attention there. That sounded like the noise that one of the spherical devices made. If I'd caught that, I could have seen... Oh, excuse me, I could have seen what creature it was. So I know about that one there. I doubt they'd have two on the same little stretch. Oh, Sunners are back. Of course, there's a danger that the others might be in locations I don't yet have access to on this island. I take it there's not one on the other side of this bay. Again, it would seem like an odd choice, but worth checking, just in case. And there's the one I know about. So where were the ones I found? One in the sand pit, one near the cable car, one near the Sunners. And Gen seemed to believe they were all on this island specifically. I suppose there could be one by the other cable car. But it would be surprising to find one up above in the trees. Nope, I don't see one down here. I suppose for completeness I could look above. I've just had a bit of a mad idea. I don't suppose it's possible that when you wet the sand pit, the spherical device that's in there changes number and sound. Right, so what do we have currently? It's currently 2. And it's making a sort of buzzing noise. No, no such luck. Oh well. I think we'll stop there for tonight. So, thank you to everyone that came. I hope you enjoyed the stream. I'll be streaming again tomorrow from 4 o'clock, in which I'll be continuing with Riven. Then Monday, I will also be streaming more Riven from 4. That's 4 o'clock British Summer Time. That's the point. The clocks are going to change in the near future, aren't they? Well, it'll be 4 o'clock British time anyway. And then Wednesday, that'll be background to my normal poetry, prose and riddles streams. So, once again, thank you for coming, and I hope you all have a wonderful night. Good night.